Hello everyone, go to you. Welcome back to Pals Pod. As you notice again, it's only me. That's because it's 8 o'clock on Friday morning. I'm off on a stag do at 11 and I have completely forgotten about intros and outros this week. So this week on the Pals Pod, we have Matty Everard, played for Notts, now coaches at Wasps, played for Wasps and Tigers for a bit. I had a good chat with Matty. So yeah, we'll smash straight into it. So there's less of me, but enjoy the show. So here's Matt Everard. Matt, how you doing?
Good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. How's your cup of tea going? Nice.
Yeah, good actually. Amy, my better half, just bought me an absolute silver service. Brilliant.
Thanks,
So yeah,
fellas.
all good. All good, thank you.
She's just sat to the side of you.
She is that okay?
It's fine. It's just you might have to veto some of the stories. No, to be fair, we reached out. We asked your good friend Charlie for some stories, and he went, "There's nothing that can come on the podcast."
Which Charlie Davis is that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh God, honestly, mate, the stories he has as well are terrible. But he knows that he's involved in half of them, and I've got just as bad on him, so he wouldn't dare.
Well, aren't you in line to be his best man?
I was, mate, a few months ago now, wasn't it?
A few months ago, was it?
That was his best man a few months ago. Yeah, it was good actually. I got pretty stuck in my speech actually. Obviously, it was one of those that I was like, I was like, oh, fuck it a little bit. I'm just gonna, best man speech is always a word about being on the line. I was like, I'm gonna really test the line here. So I flew into him, obviously, flew into Emmy, his missus, flew into his.
Get any daggers off Carol?
I got stuck into Carol actually pretty hard. That's the most famous rugby mum in Premiership and Championship rugby. She's a legend, isn't she? And there was one line in there, and when you're going pretty well in a speech, and I had one line in there about Charlie's ex-missus, which is a source of, especially at a wedding. I was like, I actually bailed on it. I pushed it out. I was like, I'm going pretty well here. I don't need to drop this bomb. Yeah, he's a good lad. Charlie's a legend.
Yeah, no, he's good. He's good. But for those who don't know you from listening to the pods and stuff, firstly, where have you been? But secondly, this is Matt. He's played for Tigers, Wasps, Nottingham. But Matt, tell us where you started off playing rugby. What got you into rugby in the first place?
So my local club, Lutterworth, which is I'm actually living only kind of less than 10 minutes away from now, was the club that I started playing. My dad played for Lichfield growing up. He was a Lichfield lad. And so that's probably my first introduction to rugby, was watching Lichfield vets and watching him get red carded and having pints of shandy at half time and getting in. I'm pretty sure I learned to swim in one of the old school rugby baths at Lichfield Rugby Club, getting getting the bath with the team afterwards, which was just, I think that was me and maybe like four of the young lads, sons of my dad's mates, would all pile straight in after. So that's probably my first introduction into rugby from the old school, mate.
That's something we don't get anymore, is it? Is the baths in rugby? There was still a contentious point whether it's a good idea or not.
I know. I suppose I get it. It is a shame because, my earliest memories was the smell of deep heat and being in one of those baths as a little lad. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you could walk into the Paviors first team now, and you'd be engulfed by a smell of deep heat and the amount of tape on the floor, and that's just
very good. Yeah, very good.
So, have you always been a back rower, or?
Do you know what? I was one of those kids. I was like a massive kid. I was like went through puberty at just an outrageously early age. I reckon I was shaving at like 12. Honestly, 12, 13, shaving like.
Jesus.
It's really, really tall for my age and heavy. So I kind of, I always played in the back row. I remember actually like my first year at, I went to Loughborough Grammar School for kind of a few years and playing centre for a little bit. But I was always definitely a back rower. It used to be good fun being bigger than everyone else and looking older than everyone else, playing rugby back then. And then when you want to start going out to bars and stuff, you're 14, 15, 16, it was awesome. It was absolutely. And now look at me, I'm 31, I look about 50, so it's caught up with me a little bit.
I'm 28, I look 50, and I've had so.
We're same paper round, I reckon, mate.
It must have been heavy papers. Must have been the Sunday Times on a Sunday. So obviously you started playing and you found yourself in the back row.
Yeah.
What was it that kept you attracted to playing rugby?
God, yeah, I loved it, mate. It's funny, like I don't know really. The contact element of it, like the combative contact side of it. It's as I don't really know how to say it. It's as much as a team sport as that you can get.
Yeah.
What I love about rugby is you have guys playing the same sport on the same team, playing very, very different games and very, very different physiques. You know, like a props game to a wingers game, they can be playing a different sport, mate. It's completely different.
Oh,
yeah. They're playing the same sport on the same team. I loved that. And yeah, it's funny. I would like to say I was one of those kids that was like loved football and cricket and tennis, and I was rugby mad, mate. Couldn't put a ball down.
That's crazy because we've had a few former professionals on, but they've always been, we started in football, didn't really get anywhere.
I tried it, mate. I used to do the old classic, like play Sunday morning in my local at Lutterworth, and then down to the local football club. I did that for a couple of years, but it was always rugby, mate. And yeah, it was just funny. I still love it now.
We've had Lewington and Trimble on.
Yeah,
and they're both.
Al got married on the weekend, actually. No.
Yeah, no. Jim Reeson was his best man.
Oh, nice.
Plays 8 for us. And shout out to Jim, who will definitely listen. And basically, those two were talking up how good at football they were. I've played football with Max, and he is quite good, but he is a solo artist. It is something rotten. He does not pass the ball for love nor money.
It sounds like Al playing rugby, mate. That does. but to be fair, when he was quick as him, as good as he is, I wouldn't pass it.
Well, if I was that quick and skinny, I wouldn't pass either.
I know. Did you play with that at Notts, Bill?
Yeah, 2 years, I think. Yeah.
He's a hell of a player, mate.
Yeah,
Go on.
I went down to what I said to you earlier, Briz versus Sally's at the weekend, and unfortunately Al didn't make the team. But I saw him running doing his little Malcolms at half time. And he's just like, what?
Electric.
Electric. It was the quickest thing I've ever seen. It was scary. It was scary.
He's talking, like, obviously we were just talking before we came on about that 20s team. I was lucky with the Leicester team that I was actually brought up with as well. I was a part of that kind of. Had a pretty strong under-19 team that would have played local under-19 like Sale, Northampton, Leeds, and I was a part of that with, you know, Fordy and Billy Twelvetrees, Manu, Sam Harrison. Do you remember Sam Harrison?
I remember Sam really well. Yeah,
Callum Green, who's a lot now. We had like a Bauer, actually, we spoke about earlier, for like this real, I don't know, like nuggety, tough, young Leicester Colts team, which our personality-wise didn't fit into, but he was our Stardust, mate. Getting the
ball. A load of tough blokes, then Al on the wing.
A load of tough blokes, honestly. Then Al was standing as far away from it as he could do, just scoring hat-tricks for fun.
So do you, we'll go into the playing, but do you miss playing? Because obviously you're coaching now, and it must be a massively different thing.
Yeah, it is. I think like different, but then also maybe as close to it as you can be without playing. Or do I miss the changing room, and then not just around the game, like the changing room in the week is class. It's so funny. Probably my favourite. Oh God, actually, that's a good one at Wasps. A really good changing room at Wasps, but at Notts, I was probably like an older senior player then, and we had kind of the best NTU and Nottingham University boys in the change room next to us. We used to get them in every Monday morning for story time, which I miss a lot. And then kind of the tension pre-game, you just can't replace. You know, that is just something that is, I don't know, you just can't experience without having it. And then obviously after a good win, like the elation, that kind of feeling post-game, that's probably the actual playing. I do miss a little bit. I miss the contact side of it. I probably struggled with that when I stopped. some kind of form of pent up testosterone and aggression that I had nothing to unleash on. But it's probably definitely the change room over everything. So I still kind of get a little bit of that now as a coach after a good win and a little bit before the game, but it's not quite the same.
No. Phil, do you miss the same thing?
Well, I still obviously do it on a Saturday. During the week, it's a bit different, and Matt would have been changing in the same change rooms that I changed in for years at Notts, and they're not the prettiest. But I think that almost makes it better.
Yeah,
because you have your own little spot, and the chat's the same every day, but every day it's just as funny, and it's just one of those things where it's not quite the same in a corporate finance office. Although I do bring
the change room chat every day, Tom, it is class, mate. It is, it's so inappropriate. Things I can never repeat. Like daily banter that is like borderline abuse, but the person receiving it would find it as funny as everyone else. That is actually talking about it now. It's making me think about how much you do miss it. But yeah.
I think there was a comment that I think I mentioned on the pod a few weeks ago that Mike Tyndall, obviously, he's doing this back to rugby kind of thing, and he said it's the same banter, just with blokes that have to go to work the next day, kind of thing. Like rugby players will always be the same kind of banter and the same kind of personalities, but just on an amateur level. And obviously, you're still in and around the professional level. So is it the same as it was back then, or is it a little bit more, not snowflakey? That's a horrible word to say, but a bit more young, if that makes sense.
I do think it's probably growing with the times a little bit, and what's PC and what's not. I reckon. I'm sure I don't know, mate, because I'm not in the change room every single day. I don't really know. I'm lucky, really, in the sense that the lads I coach now, I'm the same age as a lot of them. I'm 31, but a lot of the playing squad are a similar generation, similar age to me, going through similar things, like young kids I've played with. I played with a dozen of the team, so I've still got that kind of, when you play with someone, you get a relationship that is something else as well. So I'm lucky to have that with a lot of the lads. I'll definitely call them. Sometimes like the whole thing around, as a coach, you've got to keep yourself a bit distant from the players so you can have those tough conversations. That is something I literally completely disagree with. I think that's the biggest load of bollocks ever. I think having close relationships with players, being friends with them, means when you've got to be pretty brutally honest with them, it means a little bit more. I mean, if your mate is telling you were shit on the weekend, you were shit on the weekend. Do you know what I mean?
It's funny because the lads at Paviers don't seem to take that well from me.
You're not bad, that's why.
The problem with you, Phil, I mean, it's not a problem. It's just what happens. Matt, for your knowledge, we had our under-16 step up the other day for the first time into the kind of in the senior level, and Phil was treating them exactly how he treats us. Well, he treats me. He always calls me a fat bastard, but the way he treats them is exactly the same how he treats someone playing for 20 years.
Yeah.
So equal opportunities.
I quite rate that film, mate. I do. You got to cut your cloth and learn the hard way. That was definitely the way at Leicester. Bloody hell, I was a young lad. They wouldn't speak to you. Some of the senior lads wouldn't speak to you.
What years were you playing at Leicester?
So you used to sign a contract at Leicester when you were 16. Well, you could do it at 16. So I signed at 16. And then left. Like I said, I went to Loughborough Grammar School. Played at Lutterworth. Played at school. Left at 16 to sign for Tigers, and we would train every day, literally like a professional at that age. It was great. Absolutely loved it, and kind of got that professionalism from such a young age was brilliant. And we'll do weights, we'll do gym at 7:30 in the morning, go to college for a few hours, and then do rugby at 2, 3 in the afternoon. So it was good, mate. It was really good, and a tough group of lads with an absolute. I don't know, in case he listens, a tough coach who drove us very, very hard. But
in case he listens, there's no fucking chance he's listening
to Alex Lewington will know if he ever. Neil McCarthy's called. He's yeah, a crazy man. Like, but actually a bit clever with some of the stuff. He instilled work rate. That's what I'd say. How hard he worked us as young lads. I never worked that hard again. I mean, I never was made. Never went into an environment where I had to work as hard as I did as like a Colt at Leicester. So I definitely appreciate that he did that for us. I'm sure I would say the same.
Who was in that senior setup at Leicester when you were there?
Oh yeah, it was interesting. We went from a coaching perspective, kind of went through that. I don't know if you remember. So Pat Howard would have been the first one, but that was right at the end of him. And so he left, and they replaced him with Lafredo, first the Argentinian, who lasted less than 6 months, I think, honestly. And then they replaced him with Hanneke Meyer, who lasted even less than that. Tore his Achilles in a staff 100-meter race on his first day. Snapped his tendon, mate. I was like, oh, what a start!
That's amazing. That is amazing.
I know. And then Cockers kind of came in as interim, and then he was class. To be fair, like, I think he took the club kind of back to where it had been under Pat in regards to top of the table stuff. So and then the senior players would have been, God, like, it would have been, your Lewis Moody, your Dan Hipkiss, your Harry Ellis, your Ben Kay, your Louis Deacon, or the Deacon boys, Jim Hamilton. Pretty intimidating bunch.
Say some proper rugby pedigree, that, isn't it? Really?
Yeah. I've got a good story about that. Actually, just popped into my mind around that kind of generation and like Cockers. We used to go and watch. The academy would get a bus to watch the final. It felt like we got to the final every year. It was like it was when Leicester were really kind of in their pomp a little bit. Well, not like the Jono era, but do you know what I mean, that kind of next era. And so we'd get a bus as an academy, like, and obviously fancy dress and boys and beers all day. And that'd be the first team bus, the match bus, the non-23 bus, so the senior players that weren't picked, and the academy bus. And it was like a competition between the non-23 bus and the academy bus, which could be the loosest. And we were in fancy dress. I don't know if I should tell this story, actually.
We can cut it if you decide you don't want to tell it in the morning.
I'll tell it at a certain point. We were in fancy dress, and Manu was dressed as the Incredible Hulk. And I cannot tell you how big he was back then. He was bigger than he is now.
He wasn't allowed to touch weights, was he?
Well, so at this point he was, and this he just lifted the same as all of us, the same amount, as in like the same frequency, which for a guy of his genetics was just ridiculous. He just swelled to the side. He was a joke, mate, how big he was. Anyway, so painted green with ripped denim shirt and ripped denim shorts, Manu, and he didn't drink a huge amount. His brothers wouldn't let him drink really until he was, I don't know, meant to be older, and he couldn't drink too much. Absolutely steaming. We beat Sarries at Twickenham, end of the game, final whistle, and I just saw this green flash run past me from the stand, and he just ran to the pitch, like sprinted past a steward who didn't really try too hard to stop him. And I was like, oh my God, Manu, what are you doing? He's ran onto the pitch and gone and give Cockers this massive hug and got covered him in green paint. Cockers didn't know what to say. And then he's gone up to Alessandra, who looked after Manu, really, because his parents were back in Samoa a fair bit at this point. And Alessandro was quite a young man as well. And Alessandro like pushed him off him and was saying something pretty sternly. And Samoa and Savannah all there. Like me and Barra was just like, oh God. They're terrifying, mate. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So Manu's kind of walked off like with his bloody with his head down, and there was another brother called Andy. There was a lot of them. There was Freddie, Henry, Alex, Andy, Vi, Manu, and Julie. And Andy was sat about 10 rows behind us. He was on the non-23 bus, and he walked down, met Manu by the side of the pitch, took him into the sheds, like inside one of the tunnels where the fans would walk past at Twickenham, whilst everyone was still in the stadium, and gave him a good hiding.
Am I right in thinking Manu is the smallest?
No, actually, probably not, mate. He's the youngest, and it's like an age thing. So they would never disrespect their older brother. And yeah, Andy was not happy, mate. And me and Barrow kind of went to see if everything was okay, and it's one of those like, just gonna leave him to it, I think. Yeah.
I mean, we could talk for ages about the lads that was in that squad, but someone I've always been very interested in is Cockers.
Yeah.
What is he like as firstly as a human being, as a coach, and all that?
I'll be honest, I don't know him that well. He was my boss, and I was the head coach when I was like a pup. So I just did what I was told and avoided him at all costs, pretty much. I mean, like if he walked into the room, I'd find the quickest exit, like you do as like a young lad. Around Richard Cockerill, that was the way. And he would give me what are my memories of Cockers there. Him giving me a tackle suit, like the suits.
Yeah.
I want you to jackal absolutely everything, but don't fucking take the ball. So I was like, oh my god!
Oh, wait, so I'm getting filled in, am I, for the next hour?
Tom Youngs and Brett Deacon and give him 30-metre run-ups, just absolutely, which is probably why I do look 50. Yeah, probably why I look like I do, mate. And things like we won the A-League. We won it 2 years in the bounds for kind of that young Colts group I was telling you about, with a sprinkling of squad players. I remember Julian White starting to get tired for us in both games, kind of towards the back end of his career. And yeah, we beat Sale away in the second final to win it consecutive seasons, which was massive. The club hadn't done a long time, and we're on the bus on the way back, pulling out of Sale. All the boys literally cracking the cans open to start celebrating. Cockers walked to the back of the bus and was like, "That's brilliant! Like, so proud of you. You can put the fucking beers away. You're training at 8 a.m."
Jesus,
I think I remember that story. I think someone was on loan at ours. Might have been Dan.
Hemo. It was Hemo. Dan Hemingway.
Yeah. Hemo was like, mate, played yesterday, trained this morning. I've got to train here this afternoon. I was like,
he had a tough run. Hemo. He used to go 80 on a Sunday with Knots, 80 on a Monday night with Leicester second team, Tuesday morning. It was called Mauling and Brawling. Tuesday morning. So we played 8 minutes, won the A-League final, ready to absolutely get our heads kicked in the next morning by the first team boys.
Incredible. Has Cockers changed at all, or is he still?
I think so, mate. I think so. I think. Do you know what? He was really, really like top quality on-field coach. That's what I do remember. On the grass, technically, like the games or the drills and the like technical feedback he used to give. I remember being that age being like, thanks. Do you know what I mean? Like him being like,
yeah.
He's made me better, definitely. Off the field, I was just scared of him.
It's so ridiculous, isn't it? Because I remember that. I remember because I started at Notts when I was 17 in training with the first team, and I was terrified of all like the management. So like Glax was obviously the coach. You had Beetham was the assistant coach. And I was like, I can't even, and we had Stimpson as well. Stimpson used to coach us on Tuesday and Thursday night. And I was like, I can't even talk to these blokes. And then nowadays, like, Beetham I'll talk to every time I see him. And Glax will drop me a message every now and again. Yeah. And you just think that they're just normal people. I don't know why I was so terrified of talking to him at one point.
It's something I try to remember now that I'm a coach. The younger lads, I try and be as warm as I can be to them, because I don't think you need to be like that. I think I just don't think you need to. And like, I don't know. It's just not my style. I think. And then I remember signing for Wasps from Leicester and thinking I'm feeling completely different. And it was like being such a part of the senior lads and welcomed by them, and the coaches actually die at the time. And I remember thinking, God, this feels so different. I'm enjoying it so much more. Like the older boys would buy me coffees and going out for coffees with those lads, and which I never would have done. And I think it's because when you're an academy player, you're an academy player for a very long time. So if you come into the academy at Leicester, I'm pretty sure they probably treat you like an academy player until you get about 10 caps for England. Is that honestly like? Whereas I signed at Wasps as a first team player, so I had no academy badge associated with myself from those guys, so they didn't treat me like that, which is interesting.
Definitely. We'll come back to the professional side of rugby. Yeah. Well, what we love to talk about in PASPod are the rugby off the field.
Yeah.
What's your favourite memory of off the field rugby at any of the teams you played at?
So like team socials, things like that.
Tours, socials.
So many lads. I tell you one about me. Ames actually knows a few. Ames, if you think of any stories, socials. Yeah, that's the first one I thought of. That's what I was going to tell him, actually.
Love it. So true.
So I actually don't drink. I don't know if you know that. I'm teetotal. I've never touched it.
Really? Amazing.
Which categorically, you shouldn't trust me. It makes me a weirdo.
It also means you remember everything, which is the worst.
That's the only reason we would never trust you.
I don't think my temperament, I think, is a good reason why I don't drink. I think I try and avoid stay out of trouble. Enough, and yeah, as it is, I don't need. Yeah, I never have. I don't really know why, but I love going out with the boys. I love team socials. I'll be up till 4 o'clock in the morning trying to look after lads, have a good time at the end of the night. And I try really hard to do that because I think it's important. I enjoy it. But Wasps, my first team social, okay, I messed up because I know that you don't drink, you're always going to get some abuse of some sort. So I was always prepared for it.
Handy, yeah.
And I was dressed as Peter Pan. I don't know why I was Peter Pan, but everyone's in fancy dress. We met at the Shepherd's Bush walkabout, and I was about 10 minutes late, which is like cynical. Like,
that's criminal.
Criminal from a teetotal young lad who just on the what have I done here? I knew I was in trouble. Okay, and Tom Varndale was chief of master ceremonies.
Before you go any further, I've heard a lot of stuff about Tom Varndale. What's his nickname? Because no one releases his nickname.
Dorsey. His name's Dorsey. Everyone calls him Dorsey because something to do with his. Sorry, it's not actually that funny. It's Tom Dawes. I think he's Tom Varndale and Tom Dawes. I think either his mum's maiden name or his dad's name's Dawes. Everyone calls him Dorsey.
Okay. The last time I heard it was something about a vibrator.
But
we'll move on.
Honestly, the stuff. Again. I just burn him so badly. He's just.
If you, I mean, you can get him on the pod for us. That'd be fun. We can ask him.
He is such a wrong un, mate. It is unreal. You want to get Harry Ellis on as well. We're talking about wrong uns. He's next level. But anyway, it's a bit late, and I was like, right, okay. And everyone's all sat in a ring like you are at a courty. I sat down, and I'll call him Dorsey now because Dorsey was like, Evs, what you doing, you idiot, you're late, you don't drink, you disrespectful young but so come and stand in. How much can I swear in this? We'll play on.
Come
and stand in the middle, you daft twat. And I was like, oh fucking hell, okay. So I've gone to the middle, and he's like, right, you need to net this. And I kind of always went with like an over mindset, like if I don't drink, I need to do what I'm told it. I'm already taking the piss. And he poured me this tall shot of chili sauce. I was like, I was like, Tabasco. Do you know what I mean? I thought it might be Tabasco or something.
Yeah.
So obviously, like, cheers, lads. Boom, necked it. Gone and sat down. And by the time I sat down, like, went from the middle, sat down, I was like drenched and starting to feel pretty out of breath. I was like, oh shit, I don't feel great. And anyway, and everyone, all the lads look at me like this. I was like, what the fuck I just drank, lads? And anyway, Dorsey had ordered me Mad Dog chili sauce. Google it. It's like one of the hottest chili sauces.
Yeah, ghost chili.
Yeah,
ghost chili, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you meant to put like a drop in to a vat of chili and cook it for 4 people. I had a tall shot raw. I was fucked, lads. Like so fucked. I threw up so much. It was a joke. Like, passed out. My sweat was so spicy. One of the lads was trying to help me. It was Wadey, actually, Christian Wade, trying to help me. My sweat went in his eye, and he called an ambulance. He was so worried about his eyes. I had because it was fancy dress. Tom Varndale, Christian Wade, Simon McIntyre, and 2 other lads dressed as the Jackson 5, the five guys, ran down the street to buy pints of milk. They're all so pissed as well. Do you know what I mean? They're so drunk. Ran down the road and bought like a massive carton of milk and of yogurt. They thought would cool me down, the dairy, like, soaking me in dairy. I was like, what is going on? Anyway, I ended up in hospital. I was
Not me.
I got a taxi to hospital. I was like delirious and nearly had to have my stomach pumped. Was on a drip that night. I I lost about 6 to 7 kilograms. I really struggled to maintain my weight as a player.
Jesus Christ.
It fell off me. And I remember the meeting on the Monday morning. I was starting for the club at the time as well. I was playing a fair bit. Guy was like, lads, I try not to laugh. He was like, what the fuck are you doing? You just nearly killed our starting open side. That was a bad one.
That is a very good story.
Yeah.
I love that. I rate that a lot. I rate that a lot.
So just before we jump into the Phil's package, as it's so well known.
Oh, nice.
We were discussing earlier the England squad that you played in under 20s.
Yeah.
So if I just run through, so you played every game in the Six Nations, every game in the World Cup, and then you got benched for the final against New Zealand.
I'm pretty sure, mate. I think I started every single one. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I started every one. Then, Rob Hunter, who's now the Exeter Chiefs forwards coach, actually. So, so we're going to go with our biggest pack, which fair enough. And to be fair, mate, you look at the guys who started at 6 and 7, fucking both better than me.
So if I just read this team out, the England team first, and then we'll follow with the New Zealand team you played against. So Maku Vanapola, Mike Hayward, Henry Thomas on the front row, Joe Launchbury and Charlie Matthews in the second row, Sam Jones, Matt Kovacic and Alex Gray on the back row. Alex Gray captain and all-round just unbelievable player. Chris Cook at 9, George Ford at 10, Owen Farrell and Elliot Daly in the centres, Christian Wade and Andy Short on the wings, and Ben Ransom at fullback.
Fuck me.
I mean, that's
ridiculous, isn't it?
That is a ridiculous team.
It is. It's a very, very good team. I was very lucky to be a part of it. And like, there's the lads that you've probably not even said that were in the squad, like Dan Robson, Marlon Yard, Manu was in the squad, but he got called up to the Senior World Cup, so he was uncapped. And they were like, actually, he looks pretty sharp in the 20s and the Six Nations. Let's take him to the men's World. But Martin Johnson took him to the Men's World Cup. I think that was the Ferry Gate, potentially.
Yeah, that's 2011. That was the real good breakthrough for him.
Billy Vanapola. Billy didn't get picked. He played in the Six Nations, but Rob said he wasn't fit enough, so didn't take him. Mate. Yeah, pretty lucky to play with those lads.
So then the New Zealand team, which I can't believe these are all the same age, which would suggest why New Zealand have been so good over the last few years. Yeah. So you've got Salomona Sakalia, I think that's how you say it, Cody Taylor, Ben Tamifuna, Stephen Luatua, Brody Vitalik, Brad Shields, Sam Kane, Luke Whitelock. That's not a bad pack, is it? Number 9, TJ Perinara, Gareth Hanscom at 10, Lima Sopawanga and Francis Saeli in the centres.
Yeah.
Charles Piatow and Michael Scott on the wings, and a young Bowden Barrett at fullback. Somehow you managed to lose that game, mate. I don't know what the fuck went on.
I know. Funny, isn't it? Like it was a hell of a ding dong. Actually, it was a good game. Was it 22-11? The score there, is that right?
It was 22-33 to New Zealand.
Oh, 22-33. Okay. Do you know who was incredible, mate, to play with? And I still would say probably the best player I ever played with was Fordy. He was a joke, man.
Was he?
Oh, incredible! Like just through the whole, and we were in the academy at Leicester together, so I had him as my 10 that I played with, kind of through all the age group stuff with England, and then also as a young lad at Leicester. And honestly, man, just even still now I watch him, and he just does not get the credit that he should do. He is
100%.
And Mark Smith is like. Should be the starting 10 for England, definitely. Like, brilliant. But George is just, and that 20s World Cup, he won player of the tournament. So look at all those players. He won player of the tournament, and he had 3 more years. So he had that year. So he had that year and 2 more years. Yeah. He was like 17. He was
17 when you were 9. Oh, he was 17 when you were in the under 20s. Yeah.
Yeah. So he had 2 more.
That little flop haircut, didn't he? Which kind of come down a bit.
Yeah, so he had like a 19-year-old Charles Piatow, Bowden Barrett, Sam Kane, and he got player of the tournament as a 17-year-old, mate. Joke. It's a joke. But yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, I know I'm biased, but the fact that Stephen Luatua was playing in that age group still scares you now, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You look at like even Charles now and Ford and people like that. they're still going, but they're still going at the highest level of rugby.
Yeah, they are.
That's crazy.
And like you look at like the core of that team, it's probably the core of the England team. So I look at the England team, like the core of the England team that over the last kind of 10 years, really, like Mako, like Billy was in there, Joe Launchbury, obviously George and Owen, Jonathan Joseph, Marlon Yards, Manu. Actually, Marlon didn't really get that many, did they? Yeah, but so a good core of those boys went on and got 50 plus caps and deserved it so.
Yeah, 100%. We're going to take a quick 2-minute break because Alex Lewis has just messaged me saying, I've got a few stories, but none of them are PG enough. So I try and grab one or two PG stories. Phil, would you like to get your package out for Matt?
Oh, please, Phil.
Do it. It's been a while.
Yeah. We are on Zoom. My missus is here, so I'll have a little bit.
I can't believe she's been happily sat there listening to us chat shit for the last half an hour.
Probably used to it, bless her.
She's smiling and saying, "I'm zoned out." So.
The phone battery's running low.
Yeah.
Right, so it's just a quick fire answer round, Matt. Pretty simple questions.
Right.
I'm just thinking how many of these are going to get you in trouble. I don't think they will. But if they do, it's your own fault. Red or green?
Green.
Favourite beverage?
Oh, a cup of tea. No, I can't say that, can I? Yeah.
Leicester or Wasps?
Wasps.
Best player you've played against?
Against? Oh, crikey. Do you want to be really quick fire, or can I really think about it?
Quick fire is the round, so
no, it works.
This is still quicker than our club captain Dougie. So 15 minutes. So
I've actually forgotten his name. It's the All Black 7 that
Sam Kane.
No, the older one that was kind of always understudy to McCaw. He went to the Ospreys and I played against him.
Oh,
man. How have I forgotten it?
Played for Auckland, didn't he?
He was a joke, mate. And I just remember thinking, oh shit. I came on at the same time as him and he showed me a thing or two. It can't be that good. I remember his name. Let's go, Charles Peter. But
it's still not a bad shout, is it?
I'm going to Google it now. I really want to know. Sorry, lads. Just gone.
Yeah, I'm not Googling.
Can you start again?
Oh, don't worry, we can edit.
Yeah.
Oh, Phil says we.
I mean, Tom can edit.
Oh my God, what's his fucking name?
Oh,
oh my.
I had it then. It was just here.
War Black scrummer, Ospreys flanker, All Blacks. Would have been 2010, maybe.
I had it just here then. It just
not Jerry Collins, not Marty Holler.
Marty Holler.
There you go. Ask me the question again, quick.
Okay. Who's the best player you played against?
Marty Holler.
Who?
Right, you'll need your phone for this one.
Okay.
Last thing you Googled on your phone.
Oh, Marty Holler. Let me go back a page. Oh, this is really shit house. This is. We've got Gloucester and Kingsholm on Saturday, so I was looking at the weather.
Yeah, fair enough. It's a very good idea to check the weather down there.
Best ever teammate?
As in off field?
Just in general, yeah.
Joe Launchbury.
And then another one that probably mean nothing to you, Jonty or Jim?
What?
Jonty or Jim, they're two players of ours with...
Jonty? What a posh name. I'm going to go Jonty.
Johnny, he's the scum half. He's a wanker.
Jim, then.
Right. We'll chat there for Jim. So we'll only keep you a little bit longer, Matt. But
Thanks, mate.
Phil, do you want to do best or worst?
Yeah, I'll ask you what your best rugby memory is.
That's a really good question. Scoring against Wales in Wales. It was a Grand Slam decider. It was an age group game, and I scored right at the end of the game. There you go. That would probably
That's
be.
not a bad memory, that is it?
In where? How? So you score against Wales in Wales. Walk off the pitch. How do you feel?
The thing is with scoring, it is like ecstasy. I think it is just this, especially like a big moment. I think, it's just, I don't know. That is an irreplaceable feeling. We spoke about me missing, if I miss playing and things like that. I didn't score that many, but when you do score, especially a big one, it's pretty class, and that one definitely sticks in my mind.
Yeah. What was your worst rugby memory?
Maybe because it's fresh in my head at the moment, because we've got Gloucester on Saturday. I've never won at Kingsholm, okay, and never won there. I must have played there like half a dozen times as a player, probably even more there as a coach, and fucking never won there. And I played there once as a 20-year-old on Boxing Day, okay. And I don't know if you've been to Kingsholm much and watched them, and like rugby's crowds, like obviously you can hear crowds like Welford Road's amazing, but like when you can hear and feel hostility in rugby, it's not actually that common. Kingsholm you can, especially on Boxing Day, and they're all pissed up. And I remember thinking, I was only 20, so again pretty wet behind the ears, and we had a really young Wasps team out. The back row was actually me, Billy Vanapola and Joe Launchbury, and I was 20 and I was the oldest. I mean, so all like those two obviously like world-class players, but they were pups. We're playing against Andy Hazel, was it Buxton and Inquera, the Fijian.
Yeah.
Oh my god! I just remember getting our arses felt, mate. We got properly physically, and the crowd just going Eeyore, everything we did. And it was Boxing Day. I remember thinking, it's the hardest game I've ever played in, hands down. We lost by 3, and. Family tradition, we always went to my grandparents on Boxing Day, like always. And my dad came to the game, absolutely, obviously, comes to every game still now, even with the coaching, and drove me back to my grandparents' house after the game. I remember walking in, they've all clearly watched it on the TV, do you know what I mean, that day, the whole family. my dad must have called them, my mum must have been like, just don't bring the game up. And I walked in, and everyone's like, so quiet, and be like, hi, Matt, Merry Christmas. I was like, we'll fucking talk about the game, guys, don't worry about it. But yeah, that was a tough one. That was a really tough one.
Yeah. So normally on Paz Pod we end with a semi-serious question.
Okay.
But so you're obviously coaching at Wasps at a minute, and we're in a situation with rugby where it's probably shrinking more than most sports at the minute in the sense of grassroots and stuff. But how do, in your opinion, as a Gallagher Prem coach, what's the best way to grow rugby around the UK at the minute? I know we've not given you any context or any preparation time for that, but
that's a good question. I don't know. I think, that is a really tough question. Do you know what came to my mind literally is England being successful? I know it sounds ridiculous, but like, I'm pretty sure you read things after 2003 of like a ridiculous spike in community rugby. It then sounds ironic to say invest more in England, who are obviously the richest union in the world. Like, don't do that. That's madness. I'm like, what am I on about? I give it to the community, of course. But God, I don't know, man. I coach at still coach at a community club, Long Eaton, who are Midlands too, and because they're my perception of community rugby, it's probably a little bit skewed because it's this amazing club, mate. Amazing club run by this amazing man, Chris Brooks.
Yeah.
And what I do when I have been and played away games with those guys and taken them like around Notts and Derby, I see some of the other clubs. I just think, oh God, they need a Chris Brooks, man. They need they need someone who can just get it by the bollocks and organise it and fundraise and extract every penny they can from grants and things like that, which he does. So seriously committed, intelligent individuals. I'm sorry, mate. That's probably as far as I can
I had one for you, Matt, which is probably a bit closer to home for you.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about ring fencing the Prem?
I see it on two sides. I think for Premiership rugby, crap. And we've got crap. Maybe I shouldn't say that. My current job for Premiership rugby. For Premiership rugby, I think it takes away such a big element of competition and excitement. Like you'd be watching the games at the bottom of the league towards the end of the year with as much on the edge of the seat as you were in the semi-final and the final. I found it used to be like it's people's livelihoods. You know, it is like absolute it's desperation time, like ridiculous. But then I also see it. So that would be the negative side of it. The positive side, I see the positive from the RFU in England in regards to will clubs be more willing to play young English players without the risk of relegation? Potentially, I don't know. You kind of saw it that year, the kind of COVID year, like Leicester did it, Tigers did it. No, Steve Borthwick did it, and they were crap. They got hiding, like, and now those young English lads are the core of that Tigers team that have absolutely romped their way to top of the table, deservedly so. I've been really, really good. So, yeah, who's my employee? I'll tell you. Yeah, there's a part of me that will definitely miss that level of competition, that extra edge.
Who's and it could be Wasps, it could be anyone else. Who's the young player that we should all be looking out for now? Obviously, everyone wants to go Marcus Smith and all this, but you've coached and you've obviously coached teams against players. Who's the one that stands out to you that goes, do you know what, he could probably spark up a little bit of passion in England for rugby?
Yeah, I'm a bit late on him. Well, I'm not, but it's a bit past now. Everyone really knows about Alfie Barbary.
Yeah, 100%.
I started coaching when he was like 15, and I was like, oh my God, this kid is a joke. I was actually still playing at the time at Notts. Okay. So my last year playing full time, I was coaching the under-18s at Wasps as well in the evenings. It's kind of like a transitional year into full-time coaching. And Alfie was kind of like a 16-year-old that we played for the under-18s because it was such a joke. And I definitely wasn't meant to be doing this at the time, but I didn't really know any of the regulations at that point. I was just playing in a bit of a camp. And I remember like doing a live contact session with him. So I was 27 and he was 16. I did like some live technical one-on-one work with him. He's 16, mate. And I remember walking off the pitch afterwards being like, I need to fucking retire. Be like, oh my. He literally, his 16-year-old schoolboy kicked shit into me. And I was like, played bloody 100 games in the championship. I was like, oh my God, who is this?
Is he that good?
Yeah, he's good, mate. He's good. Well, like another good little story about him. He used to like set goals for younger lads. Do you know what I mean? So the Premiership Rugby have got an under-18 tournament. And I would set goals for them like before they played. I remember setting a goal. We were playing Yorkshire under-18, so we're good actually. On the Saturday, setting goals with Alfie on the Thursday night. And I said, like, what are your goals, mate? And I thought he'd be like, oh, tackle percentage or something. He just says, I'm not going to get tackled, Evs. I was like, what? He's like, I'm not going to get tackled. I was like, you aren't going to get tackled in the whole game? He was like, nah, mate, I don't want to get tackled on Saturday. I was like, anything else? He was like, nah, that's the only one. Oh, okay. Didn't get tackled, mate. Didn't get tackled once, mate. Didn't get tackled. I was like, oh, shit. He scored a hat-trick. From hooker. I watched the game back, didn't get tackled once. He either offloaded it, he either scored, or he made a line break and passed it. He didn't once go to the deck. I was like, oh my God, that's a joke. Yeah. So I know people already know about him, but Alfie is someone else.
Different gravy. So we were right in thinking that he for most people that know rugby, he started a hooker, now he's a back rower, and that's probably the best move for him.
Yeah, I think so. Honestly, I reckon he would have been successful at either because he's that good. It was interesting, like I don't know you off which way, like Eddie Jones and us at the club were involved quite a lot about the positional thing, and it was pretty much up to Alfie. Well, like, what do you want to do, mate? And he'd been playing back row a little bit because we had some really good senior hookers at Wasps and a few injuries at back row. Been playing back row and was like, I love this. This is great. I don't have to worry about throwing. That was the main thing. I don't have to worry about throwing. It's like that was what got on top of him a little bit. And that was it. Now he's about done and dusted.
Amazing. I think if anyone that knows rugby that knows that Alpha Babu will be in that England squad for a long time.
Yeah,
A long time when he gets there.
Oh,
yeah, no, Touchwood, 100%. But I think we'd all love to see him there. But anyway, Matt, thank you very much for coming on the pod.
Thanks, James. I loved it.
You've had to deal with a very boring Phil and a relatively pissed Tom. So you've done well. Most of the time, people find me out a lot earlier. But thanks for coming on. We'll have to get you up to. We always say this, but we'll have to get up to Paviours for
definitely
at some point.
Definitely. JP, Josh Poulet, is he still knocking about pubs every now and again?
Yeah, like a bad smell.
Is he?
No, he's a bit too high class for us. But you and Poulet on a live pod would be a good plan.
I've got some good shit on Poulet, so I'll enjoy it.
100%. Well, there we go. Then that's the first live pod sorted. Then. Thanks for coming, mate, and we'll text you soon.
Top man. Cheers, guys. Thanks, Tom.
Cheers, man.
See you guys.
So that was Matty Everard, top bloke, top chat. Always good to hear stories about kind of previous professionals and what it's like now. Also, it's quite amusing to know that he passed out from having a shot of chili sauce, if I'm honest. But like I said, that was Matty Everard. Matty, thank you for coming on. One thing I wanted to point out, there was a shout out to Jim Reeson from Phil in there because we spoke about him. Jim, if you're listening, I'm retracting that shout out now. For those who care, I was on a work night out, chat to my director yesterday in the middle of Nottingham, Penny Lane, and Jim Reeson comes in drunk, decides to cuddle me and mimic my voice, saying, "Oh, look, Goats ran 100k. Oh, look at me, I can run." So, Jim, officially retracting the shout out. For those who want to know, you can donate to that, get it to 100k. Just drop us a message and we'll send you a link. Obviously, loads of stuff coming up towards the end of the season. Easter Pub Golf has been announced. Exciting. Dougie Billings putting information out about that. So that's 9 pubs, 18 holes of absolute great banter from me. And then also Centenary Ball, it's going to be 50 quid a head or 450 quid for a table of 10. It's going to be 3-course dinner, a nice little dance, a nice raffle as well. It's just to celebrate Paviours being 100 years old. So perhaps from previous former Paviours, that's what I was meant to say. Any new Paviours, there's going to have to be an age cut-off. Obviously, you can't bring your babies, but £450 for a table of 10. £50 a head. If you've not got 10 friends or 9 friends, I probably don't have 1 friend. But get your tickets. Speak to Neil Kendrick about that if you need to, and then crack on. Have a good weekend.